So I know we're in a whole completely different setup, but today we're going to be talking about self-development books and that whole stigma around self-development books. And I'm also going to be sharing some of the books that I absolutely love, that I think that you would love as well. I've never talked about these books before on my channel, so they're going to be very different. But let's talk about this whole conversation about self-development and, you know, these self-care books. I've had so many conversations between my friends, between, you know, my family, between even people that I don't even know when it comes to self-development books. There is this whole stigma about self-development books that they are very repetitive, they're unrealistic, they don't do anything, they talk about things that, you know, can never happen. I'm here to tell you that it's the same as therapy. When you go to see a therapist, you go and see this therapist every single now and then, and they don't fix you, but they help you to see the strength within yourself so that when you go out in the normal world, you're able to realize who you are as a person inside and forget about what happened to you. You're not defined by what happened to you, but you're defined by how you deal with what happened to you, if that absolutely makes sense. So when it comes to self-development books, they are called self-development, the development of you as a person and your mind and how you think and how you do things. And if you don't know who me as a person, I read self-development. I have like a whole shelf of self-development books here. And funny enough, my brother came last time and was like, surely Lucy, you haven't read all these books, have you? And I was like, yes, actually I have read these books. I have a few here that I haven't read, but they can be like 5 or 6, but the rest of them I have read them. And I read self-development books because I know that this helps my mind. And I've been in conversations whereby for some reason I start talking about something that I read or something that I learned and it helps a friend. I don't read them just for myself, I also read them for everybody else around there. There is this whole thing that, oh my god, they're telling you how to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning is unrealistic. Not everything is going to fit you. You need to understand that not everything in this world is for you and meant for you, but you find things that are for you that will suit you. It's like when you read self-development books, it does not mean that if I read, let's say, this book, that is the one that is going to fix me. But I could read this book and learn 1 or 2 lessons and then read another book, and then over and over again I could find my book. I could find like, you know, my personal, you know, that kind of thing. So this is what I want to say to you when it comes to these self-development books, that try as much as you can to read them with a pinch of salt, and also try as much as you can to remember this, that you don't have to remember everything from the first chapter to the last chapter. You just have to remember 1 or 2 things that works for you. When you read a book and you can pick out 1, 2, 3 things that you can remember, that's all that you need. If that's all that can change you, that is literally all that you need, honestly speaking. And that's what I can literally say to you when it comes to self-development books. Let's have this conversation in the comments and tell me, what do you think about self-development books? Because people read them with a high expectation of what they want, but then they get disappointed when they don't receive what they want. It's like when you go to a therapist thinking this therapist is going to fix you, and then you come out feeling shit or horrible about yourself. Well, I'm going to break it to you that this therapist, or the shrink as how you want to call them, they don't fix you like the way you think they're going to fix you. They just give you the insight of who you are, and they listen to you so that you can develop your own self. The same thing with self-development books. Like, they're there to develop you and to develop your mind and to make you like a whole better person. Anyways, before the whole, you know, light goes down, let's talk about some of the books that I won't say love, but I think they could change someone out there in 1 or 2 ways, if that makes sense. Okay, so starting off from this book, this is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and I talk about this book so many times. I've mentioned it a couple of times, so this one is not new to people who actually listen to me and watch my videos, because I could tell you that this book makes you understand that when you are born as a person, you agree to things that you're given to you. For example, your name that you have now, you did not choose your name, but you agreed with your own self that this name is my own name. So as you go on in life, you start agreeing to certain things that become your personality, that become your character. That is why someone will say, that is not me, you know, that is who I am, or that's not how I am, because you've agreed to certain things about yourself. And because of that agreement of your own self, you have created this whole persona of you. And what I like about this, let me tell you the 4 agreements that he literally talks about here, so you can understand when I say this. The first agreement is, let me get it right. Be impeccable with your word. It means that when you say something to yourself, you have to come through with yourself, not to disappoint yourself. To always remember that when you make a promise, make a promise also and fulfill that promise. If you've made a promise to yourself, because we are good at fulfilling promises for other people and not fulfilling promises for ourselves. So it says be impeccable with your word. The next one is like, don't take anything personal. This is so good because I'm the kind of person that takes a lot of things so personally, but I've come to realize that don't take it personal. Sometimes I understand people from a point of view of like, you might have been going through something, maybe that's why you reacted the way you reacted and you say things to me. But if I see that you're repeating this over and over again, then I know that that's your character and you're trying to attack me, and that I'll not settle with it, okay, if that makes sense. Then it says don't make assumptions. This is so big, and this is something that I hate mainly in relationships and friendships, because a lot of relationships and friendships, they do make assumptions that I thought this, I thought you would like, I thought, no, don't think, ask me, just come and ask me something. Then it also says that always do your best. In this world, what you can do the most is do your best. That's why when you ask some people like, how are you doing in life, they're like, I'm just doing my best, literally. And you know, the other one is breaking old agreements. I think that's not as much as I can say, but yeah, this book is really a nice book, and it's a small book. You can read it. I really do advise you to pick up this book, and if you're not someone who is a heavy reader when it comes to self-development books, this will be like a really good introduction for you that will literally kickstart your brain, and I would definitely recommend. Okay, then the other book that I can say is Difficult Conversations. Now, we all know in life that you go through difficult kind of conversations. There have to be difficult conversations in your lifetime as long as you're living, but the way we discuss this, or we discuss matters, is what makes a conversation difficult or not difficult. Okay, so this book is literally written by Douglas Stone, Bruce Patton, and Sheila Hain. So they came together and they wrote this book, and this is one of the New York Times business bestseller, and I understand why. Let me read for you something here that I really like. It says, there is only one way to come to understand other people's story, and that's by being curious instead of asking yourself, how can they think that? Ask yourself, I wonder what information they have that I don't have. Instead of asking, how can they be so irrational? Ask, how may they see the world in such a view that makes sense? Certainly locks us out of their story. Curiosity lets us in. Now be curious about anything and everything. Ask questions. And I hate when people always laugh at people when they ask questions. I would rather look stupid for asking a question than staying dumb forever and not knowing the answer. Did you get that? I would rather look stupid for asking a question than keeping quiet and staying dumb forever. Keep that as a motto. I really love that. So this whole book is really good, and it helps you understand that conversations are not bad. How you go about the conversations are literally what matters. Not everybody intends to hurt you by the things that they say, you know. So just reading this book will sort of like enlighten you when it comes to conversation with parents, with partners, with children, with any other way that you want to have a conversation. I definitely do recommend this. Okay, then now, if you have watched one of my most famous, I want to say famous or good, doing well sort of reels when it comes to this book, I have partly a hate of this book. Hate book, but it does have information in it. And the reason as why I don't really enjoy this book as much, that is just a personal view from someone who reads self-development books, in a sense that this very particular book, you have to get to about 100 pages to start understanding what the attachment styles are. And I'm not here to tell you not to read this book. I definitely think that this book is a good book. It talks about attachment styles, and why I say attachment styles are really good, you understand what kind of person you are when it comes to other people, and it makes you sort of a better you, if that makes sense. So it says, are you curious, avoidant, or a secure person? However, if you're reading this book and you realize that you're not an anxious, you're not an avoidant, you're not a secure, it's because if you do deep research and you go on and, you know, check things, you understand that there are more attachment styles that are different to this, because there's some people who have both together and they're dominant, you know, more than, rather than being less of. So read it very well with a pinch of salt. Just know, if you don't want to go through every whole situation, just skip the first 100 pages and then you can get to the meat of the book itself. And I'm going to warn you that there are some parts of the book that are going to like tick you off in a bad way, but there are some parts of the book that are really going to make you understand things like avoidant. Like, for example, you're dating an avoidant person, you're dating a secure person, you're dating an anxious person, to understand why they're anxious, why they're avoidant. So it's just a good book, but just remember, it's going to talk about the scientific, biological studies of everything in the first 100 pages. For me, that doesn't do well for me. I just want to go straight to the meat of the book and just deal with things and get on with it. But it's a good book in general, if that absolutely makes sense to you, and if you're very sort of interested. Now, this very book, this is one of the books that I always say that don't think about the author of the book, just think about the book that is written itself. Because if you think about the person that wrote the book and you think about their life and what they've done in the past and things you don't agree with, it will stop you from actually reading a book that will actually change your life. And this is one of those books that I can say to you. This is Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. I do like Jay Shetty. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like the practices and who he is as a person. I won't say that he will be everybody's cup of tea, just like we are in life. We're not everybody's cup of tea, but at least we are a cup of tea. I don't know where I'm getting all these things from, you know, which absolutely makes sense. So if you didn't know, he was this monk. He went and he did the monk life, and he understood things to do with how they live, how they behave, how they think. And he decided to write everything in the book. And I'll tell you something that it absolutely makes sense. Well, you check on the internet, because there's so many people that are talking about doubts and loopholes within his story about his monk life, and how he went ahead and he did it, like how did he do it, like he was connected and things like that. But I do like some of the quotes in here. Let me read for you something that says that if you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Petty negative thoughts and words are like mosquitoes. Even the smallest ones can rob us of our peace. You think that just because a thought is small, it won't affect you, but it will affect you, because it does sort of eat up in your life, and you know, as time goes on. I'm going through the whole book and I'm just trying to read some of the things that I like. Another one, it says here that sometimes the ego works so hard to impress others that it does more than hype itself. It drives us to lie, and counterproductively, I don't know, I can say that, all that effort only ends up making us look bad. And that is very true. Ego is one of those things that is a good thing and a bad thing, but it has turned out that people and their ego serves others than serving them, which can be a very dangerous thing for you as a person. So this book, Think Like a Monk, it tells you train your mind for peace and purpose every day. And he has this thing about purpose, and he says purpose is so important. And I'm going to say this: purpose, we all say that I'm looking for my purpose in this world, I want purpose, I want this and that, but you have to remember something. Purpose is not what you do for yourself, but what you do for others. We ask ourselves, what am I doing in this world? Like, I feel like I'm useless, I'm not doing anything. And I'm going to say this to you: it's because you feel like you're not making an impact in this world like the way you should have been. Like, you're put on this earth to do something, but you feel like that thing is not being done. And that's the honest truth. So purpose is what you do for others and how you make others feel and how you fulfill others more than it does for yourself. Because sometimes what we do for others makes us feel happy and makes us feel fulfilled, if that makes sense in a nutshell. So those are the kind of the books that I can literally tell you. I'm sipping hibiscus tea, so nice. Those are some of the books that I can tell you that I absolutely love, and they're just these books that will give you peace of mind, you know, and rejuvenate your mind and make you feel very good. If you're someone that really wants me to talk about books when it comes to women, books that can really help you as a woman to level up, become a girl boss, and know yourself and know your worth and know your standards, then I'll surely talk about that. But if you want to train your mind, you want your mind to be better, you want to understand yourself, those books are really good. And don't be like everybody else that says that I don't like self-development books, I don't like, you know, books that talk about self-care and self-love, they do nothing for me. Try them and say they don't do anything for you, because I know they develop your mind. It's like in school, I hated to study biology, physics, chemistry and all that, but in my later years, sometimes certain equations, sometimes certain things about gravity, not even gravity, like, I don't know, scientific things make sense because I did learn about them when I was younger, but I didn't understand them then than I understand them now. So when it comes to self-development books, I want to encourage you and say to you that forget what everybody else is saying, pick a book that you like. And I've not talked about Atomic Habits, but I think I'll do a video whereby I debunk Atomic Habits properly, because it's one of the best-selling books, and I think a lot of people need to understand how that book works. But anyways, I'm going to end this video here because it's getting darker and darker and darker, and I need to head to London because I need to attend a fashion show. But for now, let me leave you guys with, you know, this video here, and let's have this whole conversation about self-development books. Are you a self-development book reader? What is your stigma around self-development books, and you know, what do you think can be done to change that? Okay, anyway, love you lots and bye.